Hello everyone. So first off, I'm going to apologize. I did not realize until I went to edit this video that a lot of this first part here was out of focus. It goes into focus later once I catch it. But I'm making a one layer white card today that I wanted to stencil on with the new all lined up stencil from MFT. So I've got my card base here and I've got it folded over, and then I'm taping it down onto my craft sheet, and then I just use my little T-square ruler to make sure that that piece of painter's tape was straight. I taped off kind of a third of the card front that I wanted to use the stencil on. So I lined up the stencil kind of on an angle and then taped it down really well, completely covering all the edges of the card here. And then I grabbed my white embossing paste and just applying it with a stencil like this. It helps to kind of apply it in the direction the stencil goes. Otherwise, you can really get the paste seeping underneath. And I applied a fairly thick layer. I wasn't perfectly smooth with it. I wanted that kind of bumpy texture going on. So once I applied that, it didn't take very much embossing paste. It always takes less than you think. But I peeled the tape off the top and the bottom there, and then got it off the one side just so I could lift that straight off the card front, and then gently peeled off the rest of the tape there while the paste is still wet. So I've got this really crisp, perfect edge, which I love, and use my fingers just to clean off that little bit hanging off the edge of the card there. And then before it dries, I'm going to pour some iridescent, sparkly, clear embossing powder over it. So get that poured over it, flick it off, and then I'm just going to set that aside to dry. I don't know how long I left it, maybe half an hour or so. I just set it aside and then came back to it later so that the embossing paste was completely dry. And then I'm going to heat set that sparkly embossing powder. So the reason you want to let the embossing paste dry is so that it doesn't bubble when you heat it. Depends on the texture you're going for, but I didn't want it to bubble. So let it dry, heated it to heat the embossing powder, and then for the rest of the card, I've got this die from the Blueprints 15 set. So I die cut it from black cardstock, and I actually trimmed down the card itself just a little bit so that the die fit a little better on the card. And then to embellish it, I'm using the Gerber Daisy Dynamics, which were last month's free with 60 and are now available for purchase. So I die cut some white cardstock with some of the Daisy dies, and then I used my favorite Layered Leaves Dynamics and die cut a couple leaves from white cardstock as well. And I'm going to color them in with Copic markers. So with fine dies like this, you can do it one of two ways. You can leave it in the cardstock just so you have more area to hold onto when you color, but I only like doing that if I'm planning on inlaying the die cuts, because coloring it while it's in the cardstock, you're going to have that white edge all around the edges of the petals, and I didn't want that at all. I wanted that to be covered. So these are big enough that I can just hold onto them with my fingers, and then I just have some scrap paper under there to catch all the extra marker, and I am not neat with this at all. I just scribble the color on. I left all the daisy centers completely blank because it's all going to be adhered. You're not going to see it anyway. So all that matters is that the petals are covered. So I used 3 different shades of pink for that, which was RV04, 06, and 09. And then for the center, I used YG21 and then dotted on YG23, again, not being particularly neat with it. I just wanted just kind of a little bit of a textured look. And then I blended it out a little bit, again, with the YG21. And then for the leaves, they look horrible at first. I just scribbled on some YG05 just to give it a little bit of a base before I go in with YG07. And I just follow the embossed lines that are cut by cutting with the Dynamics. It also embosses the little veins of the leaves. So followed that, again, not being neat at all. I just wanted to get the color laid down, and then I went in with G14, which is just a little bit darker, and added a little bit of that. And once I've got that down, I just went right back in with that YG05, which was my lightest, and really added a good layer of color to that, and it kind of blended everything out, and then it just is fine. Once it dries, it looks just fine. So you don't need to be super, super particular with it at all. And also most of them get adhered behind the flower anyway. So got those done, and then I had to add even more shimmer. This card is like crazy glittery. But I took my dark pink Wink of Stella, and again, just kind of flicked it all along the petals of the flower. And then I took my yellow Wink of Stella and went over the center. And then I've got some overhead lights here, and turned them on just to kind of try and catch that shimmer, which is so hard to catch on camera, but it is so pretty in real life. So it's just got this really subtle golden shimmer to the petals and the flower center. Really, really fun. So then I just needed to adhere everything together. So I just used my Tombow Mono Multi to get all these flower pieces adhered together. And yeah, that's why you didn't need to do the center, because they get completely covered up. And then finally I'm going to adhere the center, and then I'm going to get the leaves adhered together and adhere those behind the flower. So once all that is adhered and I know how I want everything to go, kind of figuring out how I want the leaves to go and fit on this card front, because it's quite a large flower, and I didn't want to cover up too much of that wonderful embossed stripes that I created. So got that all adhered, and then I'm grabbing just a sentiment. This is from the Sea Life Sentiments stamp set, which I just love the font on this. So grabbed the thanks stamp and then made sure I have enough space on there to stamp it along the bottom of the card with the black hybrid ink. And then once I've got that stamped, I can use my Tombow Mono Multi again to adhere my finished daisy to the front of the card. And then to finish it off completely, I grabbed my big corner chomper and rounded the corners and was able to do, of course, the entire card front, because this thing cuts through like anything. So got that all nice and done. And then on the inside of the card, I die cut another piece of black cardstock with that same die from the Blueprints 15 set. And then I had a smaller daisy that I had colored before starting this card when I was just kind of figuring out what colors to use. And I decided to finish it, and I die cut all the pieces and colored them to use on the inside of the card just to give it a little extra something. So had that in place, and then adhered my little smaller daisy that's all nice and colored, and that finishes off the inside. So as always, there will be a link below to my blog post with links to all the supplies used. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!